Welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry, a podcast covering the Miami Dolphins and the NFL. Now, here's your hosts, Chris, Alf, and Simon.
And we're on, and welcome to another edition of 3 Yards Per Carry. I'm Alfredo Arteaga. Simon Clancy is here. Chris Kaufman is not here because he's at the Tampa Bay Bucks game. Bucks versus Ravens. He's at that game tonight, so he can't be with us. But as always, this show is brought to you by Manscaped. Use promo code 5RSN. Get 20% off your entire order. And of course, PrizePicks. Use PrizePicks. Use the promo code 5FIVE, and you get a $100 sign-up bonus. You deposit $100, they give you a $100 sign-up bonus. You roll it over once, which means you bet it once, you get it once. So it's essentially a free $100 bet. Take it, FIVE. And of course, Better Edge. That's BETTOREDGE. BetterEdge.com/5 reasons. You get $25 just for signing up. All right, Simon. What do you make of what's going on in the NFL today? It seems like either though they're trading
Sorry, complete accident.
So you don't have a cough button, is what you're saying?
That just came from nowhere, and I couldn't reach the button. Sorry.
All right. What do you make of what's going on in the NFL today? Because either everybody in the league is getting traded by Tuesday, or there's a bunch of bullshit going on by agents. I'll give you the biggest names today. Essentially, the Patriots might make everybody available, including Damian Harris, which I don't understand why you would do something like that.
Well, he's a free agent, isn't he, at the end of the year? So
maybe that's why. But the names that I didn't, why would the Broncos trade Bradley Chubb? Like, why?
Yeah, that one makes no sense. I just think it's a lot of smoke, mate. I just don't believe that will happen on any level. I don't believe there'll be all these big trades. And I mean, if the Bradley Chubb compensation is in line as is rumored, is in line with the Robert Quinn compensation, don't trade him. Just get a comp pick for him. I mean, racing to trade a team captain playing at a career best level is beyond puzzling. Do you know what I mean? That just makes no sense. I mean, if the return is a third rounder, then that's not worth it for the Broncos. That just makes no sense. And they've invested all this money on Russell Wilson to be a contender. So I just yeah. I mean, I saw Bradley Chubb's brother was liking tweets about him getting traded, but I mean, I'm never going to understand that one.
And the one that really makes no sense is Josh Allen, and not that Josh Allen, not the one that terrorizes us twice a year. The pass rusher from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why would the Jags trade that guy? Like, that guy's he's a budding star.
Yeah, he's also a really, really good guy. So I can't believe there's any issues off the field that would motivate them to try and trade him. I mean, 23.5 sacks in 3.5 seasons. He was the 7th overall pick. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, in what world you're just creating a bigger need if you trade him? I mean, that's probably they've just spent a first round pick on the guy to play opposite him. That's probably the team's least depth field position. They also have injury there. Caleb Chason's on IR. They're last in sack percentage in the league. I mean, their pass rush would just become a complete black hole if they did that trade. I think it's agent talking. I just don't understand that at all. Unless what are they going to get back for it? They're never going to get the same value. That they're not going to get the equal of the 7th overall pick. So why would you do it?
Yeah, like the only way that makes sense is like if somebody's really going to lose their mind and say, you know what, what do you say to 2 first-round picks and a second for Josh Allen? And then of course when he gets here. Like, I'm not saying the Dolphins are doing it, but let's say you are trading for Josh Allen. You better have like $100 million ready for him to sign, right? Because you're not going to commit 2 first-round picks and more for him to walk in a year, right? Like, how does that make any sense whatsoever? Because any trade for Josh Allen has to be accompanied with like a $100 million contract. So I really don't understand what people are talking about today. These are just agents putting stuff out there. It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, I can't for a second think that the Denver Broncos are thinking, you know what, let's trade our best pass rusher. I mean, for the second year running. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Yeah, and then of course the players are buying into it and feeding into it because Alvin Kamara's posting the GIF or the GIF of Michael Jackson eating popcorn.
Hmm.
You
I
know,
mean,
and
I think
everybody's
I think
liking.
players just have a. I think players are just having a bit of fun. Do you know what I mean? Again, that's. I mean, Alvin Kamara's not going anywhere either. I don't think. You know, I mean, what I just.
Yeah, right. It's just odd. Let's talk state of the AFC because it seems like it's taken another hit. The returning, the defending uh, Super Bowl participant from the AFC. If you had to make a list of the guys that they couldn't afford to lose, Jamar Chase would be right at the top of that list. I would say right after Joe Burrow. It looks like he might be out for the season. He's definitely out at least 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's a candidate for the IR. The AFC coming into this year looked like, like a juggernaut, right? Like it looked like there was maybe 8, 9, 10 teams that were legitimate, contenders. I don't know what has gone on with the AFC the last few days because first of all, we see the Ravens. The Ravens don't like a lead that they can't blow. Okay. The entire AFC West is either injured or they're just bad, besides the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are the Chiefs every year, no matter what. The Chargers now lost Mike Williams for 5 weeks after losing Slater for the balance of the year. I guess the Raiders are getting healthier. The Broncos are an unmitigated disaster, and their quarterback seems to be having a nervous breakdown. I don't know what you make of what Russell Wilson's been doing the last few days, Simon.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's
that's
not just the last
odd.
few days. It's just like his behavior is just so weird.
Like his
so
behavior
weird.
is odd. Like that's odd, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you make of the state of the AFC? Like, who's good? Like we know the Bills and the Chiefs are good, but I guess this is opportunity right here is what's knocking for the Dolphins here. But who's good?
I mean, you could ask that question about across the NFL. I mean, I think there's only about 5 or 6 teams in the NFL that are actually of any note in terms of their quality. I mean, Buffalo are clearly good. The Jets are the biggest fraud in the league. I mean, you look at who they've beaten, and the quarterbacks they beat. You take Aaron Rodgers out of the equation on a clearly very bad Green Bay Packers team, but they beat Miami's third stringer when the Dolphins had a field goal to go up 20-19 with 9 minutes to go. They scored those 2 inexplicable late touchdowns in the last minute and a half against the Browns.
Yeah.
They came from 10 points down in the last 6 minutes to beat the Steelers. And I give them credit for coming from behind. But I mean, you look at the quarterbacks they've beaten. I mean, they beat Kenny Pickett, Skylar Thompson, whoever, Jacoby Brissett. I mean,
Mark Rypien.
Brett Rippon. It's just like, there's no way that they win that game last week if Russell Wilson's playing, regardless of what we think about Russell Wilson. So, I thought the Patriots were actually all right until they absolutely laid the biggest turd I've ever seen. And
what was that?
Monday night. Terrible. The Ravens are the Ravens. The Bengals, they've still got player. They've still got T. Higgins, and they've still got Tyler Boyd, and they've still got Mike Thomas, and they've still got, Hayden Hurst and what's his name out the backfield, Joe Mixon, and so and obviously Joe Burrow. So I don't worry so much about them. Steelers aren't good. Browns probably going to be out of the playoff race before Deshaun Watson comes back. The Titans, Ryan Tannehill's playing pretty well. Derrick Henry's playing pretty well. The Colts are done. The Jaguars are done. The Texans are done. The Chiefs are good. The Chargers are just so injured. The team I would keep an eye on is the Raiders.
Yeah,
I think they've lost 4 games, but the 4 games that they've lost have all been 1 possession games. They could easily be 6-1. The Raiders, to be fair, and I think the Broncos are done as well. I think Nathaniel Hackett will be the first coach to get fired. And actually, there's a rumor over here that if he loses on Sunday, he might get fired on the way back, the way that Joe Philbin did a few years ago. So, yeah, I mean, even look at the NFC. Look, the Eagles are clearly a good team. The Giants have got a good record, but are they a 6-1 team? I doubt it. The Cowboys, they're okay. Their defense is pretty good. Micah Parsons is top 3 or 4 players overall in the league. Washington aren't good. The Vikings, I mean, we should have beaten the Vikings. How he lost to them is astounding. The rest of the NFC North is trash. The NFC South is bad. You know, there's not a good team there. The Buccaneers are awful. I mean, the Seahawks are the one team that are interesting because Geno Smith is legitimately playing in a top 5
Yes,
level of any player in the league. He's a legit MVP candidate.
he
Big game on
absolutely is,
Sunday.
which is odd, right? It's
Yeah,
one of
isn't
the
it?
craziest things you could say, right?
I know. And then big game Sunday with the Rams and the 49ers. You know, the 49ers kind of, you think, okay, their defense is really playing at a high level and they got Christian McCaffrey and, you know, Jimmy can kind of navigate the waters, but they got an absolute spanking at home against the hands of the Chiefs. So a big game against the Rams on Sunday because the Rams are still sputtering. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's I think there's probably 5 good teams, 8 good teams total in the league. And I think the Dolphins are absolutely one of those. So, you know, it's, yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Now our listeners and our members on OnlyFans, you know, they love the transaction. And let's face it, we kind of love the transaction too. You know, we do an entire month worth of shows on the draft. Okay, it's kind of fun. Do the Dolphins need to do something by Tuesday's deadline, or can they just stay pat and say, "Look, we're getting healthier by the day"?
Sorry, repeat the question now. You just broke up a bit.
Yeah. Do the Dolphins need to do something by Tuesday's deadline, or can they just stay pat and say, "Look, we're going to get healthier by the day, and we don't really need to do anything"? Or would you be out there trying to do something by Tuesday to improve this roster?
It depends what the value is. It depends what the value is. Like your teams aren't giving away great players, and you essentially have to there's very few Von Millers out there. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's not. I just don't think we're. I don't think that Von Miller isn't walking through the door. Do you know what I mean? You look at cornerbacks, and there's been. You look at Greedy Williams. You look at Deontay. These are. Good teams aren't giving away good players. That's the thing, isn't it? So it's an issue. I think it's because the Dolphins do need help at the quarterback department. They do need help on the offensive line. Although if they get Austin Jackson back and if Teron Armstead's getting back, Liam Arkenbo beginning to pick up, I think Brandon Shell's been excellent actually. So all of a sudden the offensive line becomes a bit of it becomes okay. Greg Little comes back from the hand injury. It's okay. Losing Brandon Jones is but you've got Eric Rowe, you've got Elijah Campbell, you've got Verone McKinley, who they clearly like because he played quite a bit on Thursday, on Sunday, sorry. So you might try and sneak a corner in, but I mean the biggest question that the Dolphins we don't know the answer to, and therefore it is dependent on what they do, is that when is Byron Jones coming back? Is he a week away? Is he out for the season? Is he, what's the situation? Because if they think he's going to be back in 10 days, they probably don't make a move, right? Because they're going to get Crossan back, they're going to get Kohu back, they can probably mend and make do.
Yeah.
Especially on this stretch when they're not playing some massive teams. But
yeah, because Kohu has become, look, that's a credit to Greer and his scouting staff. Kader Kohu has now become an essential player. Like this is a guy that you could picture replacing Nick Needham in the slot maybe next year, So, Kader Kohu he's expected back, but he's kind of an essential player. Yeah, I completely agree with you. But they're going to have to, for lack of a better word, they're going to have to issue Byron Jones an ultimatum, I would say.
Yeah.
Like they're going to have to tell him, look, you're playing or you're not playing, because if you're playing, we're in pretty good shape. If you're not playing, we're going to have to replace you somehow. Right. And let me run this one by you. I don't understand, why this was. Look, I would have done this deal already, but it does come at a cost. Okay, it could come at a cost that it could completely blow up in your face if you do it, and the guy's not good anymore. The Colts fancied themselves Super Bowl contenders before the season, and they spent a lot of money. Some of that money that they spent, I guess, was ill-advised on Stephon Gilmore. They give him 2 years, $20 million. Which means he's on the hook for $10 million more next year. And I believe almost all of it is guaranteed. He's an older guy. He's 33. Would you send a day 3 pick to the Colts for Stephon Gilmore and just tell Byron Jones, look, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. I mean, see you next year, right?
Yeah, I just don't see the Colts giving up. I mean, whatever we think of the Colts and the way that they're performing, which isn't great, but whatever we think of them, it's it feels to me as though why would a team that's 3-3-1 give up their best corner? They still must have aspirations in a bad division of trying to make the playoffs. I know they've
Maybe.
switched to Sam Ellinger, but I just don't think that they're a team that's necessarily shelling off players just for the sake of things. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But you would do it and
Oh,
tie up.
I would do it for the Dolphins, yeah.
Yeah.
Although you're taking on a fairly, I mean, I think what the Dolphins 7 million under the cap, and he's got 10 million left on another 1 year deal. So, you know, there are financial.
Yeah, he would fit this year, but next year, you know, you're basically taking on $10 million next year on an older guy.
Yeah, when you already have Byron Jones, you have to make a decision on, you know.
Yeah, so it would leave you work to do for next year. You essentially had to pick between one of the two guys, and obviously, I would pick Byron because he's younger. He's 3 years younger.
Yeah,
but you know, he's not playing right now.
Yeah, agreed. And the biggest question for the biggest question for Miami is what is the situation? You know, what is happening with Byron? You know, because they need him back, you know, and so many of those problems go away if Byron Jones is back. That's the annoying thing.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me thinks you want to get him back. You hope that he comes back towards the end of this stretch of sort of average games, just as you then hit Buffalo away, Green Bay on Christmas Day, those last 4 or 5 games where it gets really tough. You know what I mean? Because if he's back for that, then, you know, that's when teams are generally getting more injured themselves. And all of a sudden you're bringing back a pretty high level, elite level cornerback, you know, which is not many teams can do that. And all of a sudden you're bringing this guy back into the mix, and that would be pretty special down the stretch. So
yeah, but it's been a really odd time because come on, you know, the coach said, yeah, you know, no, don't worry about it. We asked him all throughout training camp, you think you're gonna have Byron for game 1, week 1? By the way, it's week 7.
Yeah.
Okay, are you gonna have him for week 1? And he kept saying, yeah, no problem. Yeah, he'll be here. We're pretty confident about that. And he was really confident until like a week before week 1. He was still saying, yeah, we're pretty confident about that. Till he was asked last week, and he's like, look, I'm not gonna do that ever again because I just don't know. You know, but it's been an odd time, and I guess I can't wait to hear Barry Jackson ask the question once again on Monday. Right?
Yeah.
You know, to see what's going on with Byron Jones, because he is there. It's not like he's in Aruba or, you know, or in Europe somewhere, you know, hiding from the team. He's in the building. He's on the sidelines when they play games. Okay. Yeah. You could see him, like, you know, throw on the tape from the Steeler game. He's standing right next to Sam Madison. Okay. And he's high-fiving with, which, you know, that one was kind of odd when he started jumping up and down after the Javon Holland interception. And I'm thinking to myself, Byron, if you could jump up and down.
Don't hurt yourself, buddy.
Yeah, like, you know, shouldn't you be playing if you can jump up and down? So it's an odd one. We got to see what's going on. One last thing on the trade front. You switching out Chase Edmonds or
no? I mean, look, it's like people are wanting to switch out Cedric Wilson, and you know, Wilson. Hook me up when you can play in the NFL with broken ribs. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason why Cedric Wilson hasn't played. Cedric Wilson is a good player, and people just need to go back and look at his Dallas tape, go and look at his Boise State tape, look and see what he does, look and see what he offers. The yak ability, there are going to be some trick plays with Cedric Wilson down the stretch on this team. He was a high school quarterback and can seriously throw the ball. You know, he threw touchdowns at Boise State. He threw a kick return. He fielded it, threw it across the field. Garmas took it to the house. He threw a touchdown for the Cowboys to Dak Prescott. He's got elite movement skills, get great yak. He's a good player. He'll come back into the mix. Chase Edmonds is fine. Chase Edmonds has had the biggest run of the season, which is the call on first down against the Ravens to get down where 2 of them threw the touchdown to Jalen Waddle. He had a couple of nice runs on Sunday night. Yes, he had the 4th down play that was a bit of an abomination where he didn't take the lane outside. He cut back inside because I think he saw Cam Hayward coming through and wasn't sure he'd get to the edge. But like, yes, he's had 2 or 3 inexplicable drops, including the one in the end zone against Cincinnati. It will come back to him. He's a good player. He's got speed. He has got vision. He's tough. He can catch the ball. He'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine.
All right. We're going to go to break right now. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions. But first, these words. Do you have a water leak and can't find where it's coming from? Are you dealing with water or mold damage in your home or business? Then call Water Cleanup of Florida at 954-579-0356 for immediate assistance. With over 60 years of combined experience, Michael, Robert, and their team is prepared to handle all types of leak detection issues, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. After the leak has been located and repaired, Water Cleanup of Florida will then clean, dry, and fully restore the damaged areas. Water Cleanup of Florida is fully licensed, insured, and certified to provide the one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and business owners require. There is no need to bring in other contractors. They will handle the entire project from start to finish. Service areas include Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. Call Michael anytime on his personal cell phone at 954-579-0356. That's 954-579-0356. Or visit their website at wcufl.com. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts. All right, and we're back. All right, Simon. They got a little stretch here, the Dolphins. 4-3. They're favored in the next 4 games. Like I said before, I actually am a math major. That makes them 8-3 after this entire stretch. And man, 8-3, wow! Like that's a record. Okay, like you could sit on 8-3 and start thinking about all kinds of things in January. But you can't get to 8-3 if you don't get this one. What do you make of the Lions? The first 4 weeks, actually no, I got it right here. The first 5 weeks, they were the number 1 offense in the NFL. The number 1 scoring offense through 3 weeks. They've scored 6 points in the last 2 games. 6. Yeah. What do you make of that team?
I think they are a good team. I think this is a massive trap game for the Dolphins. I think they've got good players, good young players, whether that's the guys up front with Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil, and the linebackers are good. Malcolm Rodriguez, Jeff Okuda's playing well in the secondary. They've got the best offensive line in the league. I'm not sure what the status of DeAndre Swift is. I know that he was limited in practice yesterday.
Looking like he could play.
Yeah. Same with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And that's an issue. Amon-Ra St. Brown, like a lot of people don't know who he is. You could talk about him because you were pretty high on him.
Yeah, I loved him.
He's a star. He's a legitimate wide receiver star in the NFL.
I thought he was a great player at USC. I thought he reminded me of Jarvis Landry. He's got a bit more juice. Excuse the pun. He had a bit more juice in terms of his speed, quickness, with the ball in his hands. He's just a super player. TJ Hawkinson's a good tight end. And Jared Goff can get hot. You know, you look at the game against the Seahawks, it was 45-43 or 48-45 or whatever it was. I mean, but this is critical now for the Dolphins because you talked about now 4-3. You got the Lions, you got the Bears, you got the Browns, you got the Texans. 8-3. They can't afford to drop one of these games because then you go 49ers on the road, Chargers on the road, Bills on the road. You know, 3 back-to-back road games. Then you got the Packers, who should have sorted their offense out by Christmas Day, right? At home. Mm. Then you're on the road at the Patriots, home against the Jets. So you've got this run of 4 games. You can't afford to you win all these 4 games, get yourself to 8 wins, right? I mean, even if you go 3-3 on the last 3 games,
you're
making the playoffs, right? But if you lose one of these games, Lions, Bears, Browns, Texans, that means you've got to go 4-2. So that means, you know, Patriots, Jets, Packers, and then one of Bills, 49ers, Chargers, you've got to win, and all 3 are on the road, right? So the more games you lose in this next stretch, the more games in the really difficult back end of the season, you're going to have to, because, you know, McCaffrey will have the offense under his legs. You know, the 49ers will be better. You know, the Chargers are still talented. They've still got good players. Herbert, it's Eckler, Derwin James, etc., etc. The Bills are the best team in the league, right? The Packers might figure it all out, and they've still got Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, all those guys, right? Jair Alexander. The Patriots, you know, the Patriots have played some tough games this week. I know that they shat the bed on Monday night, but you know, they look. You
don't know what the weather. You don't know what the weather's going to be like in New England.
Absolutely. And then the Jets are the Jets at home. But the more games that you lose over the next 4 weeks, the more games you're going to have to win in this 6. And you win all 4, you get yourself to 8-3. Well, if you lose to the 49ers, the Chargers, you're 8-5. You lose to the Bills, you're 8-6. But then let's say you beat the Packers, the Patriots, and the Jets, you're 11-6, right? And you pick up one of those road games, 49ers or Chargers. Let's say you lose to the 49ers, you're 8-4, but you beat the Chargers, you're 9-4. 2 wins out of the last 4 games, of which 3 of those games are at home Green Bay, at home Jets, road Patriots. You'd be expected to pick 2 of those up, right? So that's why this next 4 weeks is just absolutely monster for the Dolphins. I just think you've got to come out 4-0. Otherwise, you're just struggling to pick up on that last section.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like these are must wins. These 4 games, every game that you lose in the next 4, because you're favored in the next 4, you start erasing some of the good ones. Like you erase the Bills win. Like the Bills win right now is what has them sitting the prettiest, because you have a win. Look at all your competitors. You know, the Patriots and Jets. I don't know if we're competing with them for a playoff spot, but guess what? Both of them have 2 Bills games still left on their schedule.
The Jets will be out the running, mate. The Jets will be out the running.
You know, and then you look at who has a tiebreaker? The Bengals. They just took an injury with Jamar Chase, and if you look at their schedule coming up, it begins to toughen up a little bit. So it's kind of set up for them. You just go 8-3, man. You can't sit any prettier. But yeah, maybe it's as simple as these last two weeks. The Lions, they scored 6 points. They got shut out against the Patriots. They scored 6 against the Cowboys. They haven't looked good, but they're getting healthier. Amon-Ra St. Brown is coming back. Josh Reynolds is a really good wide receiver, by the way.
Yeah.
And TJ Hawkinson is one of the best tight ends. Like, you look at them, there's like legitimate talent on that offense. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if our offense is going to have to score some points to win this game, because there's talent there. Like, they could easily revert back to what they were the first 3 weeks. You agree?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But I think the point that you make is apposite about the Bills. You don't want to erase the Bills win or the Baltimore win by losing to the Texans or losing to the Bears or do you know what I mean? These are now the games you just got to go and stamp on the throat of these teams a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to take the Lions outside the woodshed and just beat them down. You're inside on that fast field at Ford Field. You've got, and look, we saw the juice that came back with Tua coming back. We saw how Pittsburgh, and we talked about it in OnlyFins, we saw how Pittsburgh changed things up early on after the issues with the defense on those first 3 drives. And, they're able to do that because you can play Minkah Fitzpatrick as an elite free safety single high, and then you can flood the middle of the field, which is what they did perfectly. Detroit can't do that. They don't have a Minkah Fitzpatrick at safety to be able to do that. So they're going to have to play 2 deep. Now, 2 deep is going to stop the deep ball down the field, but it's not going to stop the crossers underneath. It's not going to stop the stuff that Miami do, unless they feel like, well, maybe we are going to play single high and we're going to flood. We're going to do what the Steelers did. But pick your poison.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they bet that Tua can't get it over the top, and they'll do it that way. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that defense is going to have to do certain things differently. They're just going to have to, because
it's the worst defense in the league.
Yeah, and I know we don't care too much about PFF, but I thought it's hilarious that they have a graphic. You know who their number 1 rated wide receiver in the NFL is?
No, hit me.
Tyreek Hill, of course.
Oh,
okay. They have him rated as the number 1 wide receiver. You know who's rated as the worst cornerback in all of football? He's ranked 101st.
Amani Oruwariye?
Yes.
Oh, is it? That's a good guess.
Yeah. So that's an insane matchup if we actually see it. But you look at these Detroit defense, they're gonna have to do things differently. They keep rushing Aiden Hutchinson from the blind side. They're gonna have to switch him over, because are you gonna render your rookie worthless against Teron Armstead?
Yeah,
I don't think that makes a lot of sense, right?
But also they're gonna, they're in a situation where they're playing what's his name, the rookie out of Illinois, Kirby Joseph, at free safety. You're not going to sit Kirby Joseph single high. You're just not going to do that. That's just not how it's going to work, at all. If you can't do that. That's just asking for trouble. So I think that, they're going to have to. And what that means for Miami is that the run game, the underneath stuff, the crosses in the run game, your safety's not going to touch you until you're 7-8 yards down the field. Do you know what I mean? Because they're going to have to play deep to respect the the down the field ball threat with Waddle and with Hill. That's just the nature of it. And you're playing Deshaun Elliott and Kirby Joseph at safety. Well, you're not going to leave either one of those on an island because the only way you're going to stop yourself getting burned is the hope that Arawarie or Rakuda are going to be able to come over from the blind side if you're going deep, and they're just not going to be able to, they're just not going to be able to do that. So then the pressure then just falls on Malcolm Rodriguez and Alex Anzalone to try and cover underneath. And yeah, I just think this, like I've said this like 4 or 5 weeks running. You watch the All-22, and there is so many players running wide open in this Dolphin offense.
Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like this could be a statement where they could put up 35, 38 points and really just continue to send out a marker. The Dolphins are back. They should have beaten the Steelers by a lot, and they didn't, and they got away with a 1 or 2. But they, just come on, take this Lions team apart. Let's go to 5-3. Let's, get people talking about us, and let's head to Soldier Field and take down the Bears. Because that's not a very good football team either. So
yeah, I think that the Cowboys and Lions game, I think, is instructive of of where they're at right now. That game, if you watch it, the score was 10-6 deep into the fourth quarter. It was 10-6 Cowboys. And then the Cowboys just capitalized late with 2 touchdowns.
I mean, Detroit should have won that game because Detroit were driving to win the game or to take the lead, and then Jamal Williams fumbles at the goal line.
Yes.
So they're not a bad team, which is why I said earlier on, don't make it a trap game, because if the Dolphins just go in thinking we're going to run up, we're going to be this, that, they'll get beaten. Yeah. And they cannot afford to go to 4-4, mate. They just can't.
Yeah, and the Cowboys played a game which was, Prescott only threw the ball 25 times. They ran it a lot. They played more ball control more than anything. I don't think the Dolphins can play that way. I understand that Mike McDaniel wants to get the run game going, but they're at their best when they just throw the ball. I looked at that Steeler game. I looked at the All-22 again, and I was like, I don't understand. They keep missing these big plays that would blow that game open. Like we were so close to 23-10 score, and maybe even possibly a 30-10 score if everything goes their way offensively. And I kept thinking to myself, man, what's missing here? Because they started a drive with a 42-yard completion, and they got no points out of it. Now you explain to me, Simon, how that's possible in the NFL to have a 42-yard completion and not get, and no penalties, by the way, a 42-yard completion and not get any points out of that drive.
Yeah, it makes 0 sense.
Yeah, and I think I understand. Yeah, they want to get the run game going, but not at the expense of the entire offense. If we were laying down the marker, look, our best players are those 2 wide receivers. Man, keep pushing the ball with those 2 guys because that's what they do best. I think that's the type of game. Look, if Tua has to throw it 45 times, but we score 35 points, then I guess that's the offense we're going to be, and we'll work on the run game next week.
But again, just get the win.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how it done. Just let's worry about style points later on. Let's just get the win.
Yeah, just play to your strengths, and it's weighing heavy on Mike McDaniel because you see him. He talks about it consistently. I thought he tried to get the run game going way too much in the second half at the expense of the entire offense, and it kind of short-circuited them because it was kind of odd. First of all, the team is number 2 in the NFL of runs over 10 yards, and they don't even run the ball that much. But the problem was in that Steeler game, you could see it. There was a bunch of first down runs for 1 or 2 or 0 yards. Like that's a recipe for punting. All right. So it's Dolphins and it's Lions. What's happening? What's happening on Sunday, Simon?
What's the score? Sorry, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dolphins 35, Lions 17.
I think something similar to that. I think that I do think that this Lion offense is getting some people back.
Better team than you think overall, definitely.
Yeah, they're getting some people back. I think their offense is going to look a little bit better. I think there'll be a scare in here somewhere. But I do like our defense. I think our pass rush is coming on. I think we have a lot of good young players on that defense that are starting to feel it a little bit more. Javon Holland, Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips is about to take off. Like if in 4 weeks Jalen Phillips is at 10 sacks, I wouldn't be shocked. He has 3 already. So I think our defense is going to be good enough to keep them at bay, but the Lions look competent, let's say. And I got the Dolphins 34.
They're better than their record, definitely.
Yeah, I think that I got the Dolphins 34, Lions 21. All right. That's it. The next time we talk to you, we'll have results, and we'll start looking forward to the following week against the Bears, and we'll recap this one. But till then.
Thanks for listening to 3 Yards Per Carry. You can subscribe via iTunes, on Podbean, or your usual podcast provider.